We covered the launch of the VIVE Pro 2 earlier this year, but at the launch it was only available as a headset on its own, meaning that it was only really practical to upgrade an existing HTC setup. The good news now though is that the Pro 2 is available as a full kit, so we thought it was a good time to take another look at how it stacks up versus the previous model. In terms of design, as you can see, not much has changed from the Pro to the Pro 2, aside from the fact that the Pro 2 is black as opposed to blue. Other than that, you can see they look virtually the same, with the same ergonomics, overhead strap and the tightening mechanism on the back, along with the over-ear 3D spatial audio and the bumpy design here that you can see on the front of both of them, which is used for the tracking with the base stations. That's not a bad thing though. The VIVE Pro is easily the best headset on the market for its comfort and fit, so if it's not broken, then why change it? There's also the benefit that all the previous accessories will work seamlessly with the new headset. So if you have the wireless adapter, the trackers, or even the Valve Index controllers, you can still use all of them, meaning you aren't spending extra replacing your favourite accessories. Reviewers commented at launch on the fact that the controllers haven't changed for this new model and that they lack the hand tracking benefits of the Valve Index, and this is true. However, the Vive ones are extremely well thought out. They work seamlessly with all VR games and they have a huge community following for those who fit them into accessories. So if HTC changed the shape, then it could have put off a large portion of its existing user base. There's also the fact that you can buy any Steam VR controllers and they'll work seamlessly with the VIVE Pro 2. The only controllers available that are worth looking at that are potentially better than the Vive ones are the Valve Index controllers that I mentioned, and these can be bought separately for around £260. They do have some compatibility issues with some older titles though, so it's still worth owning a set of the Vive ones in our opinion, which come in the full kit. So the real change comes in the internal specs, namely the screen and the lenses. The Pro 2 now has the highest resolution of any headset on the market, with an impressive 2448 by 2448 pixels to each eye. This is a healthy boost from the original VIVE Pro, which has 1440 by 1600 pixels per eye. It also boasts an increased field of view of 120 degrees using new lenses, and maybe even more importantly, a refresh rate of 120 Hz at full resolution. This is made possible by a switch to LCD panels rather than the OLED ones that you would have found in the original Pro. This does mean that the new headset will sacrifice a little when it comes to black levels. In testing, we noticed this easily if we did a back-to-back test with the headset, with a plain background with white writing on the screen, but it was much harder to tell when we're in a game or a normal environment. So back to the VIVE Pro 2, and if you are thinking of upgrading, then you also need to make sure you have a suitably powerful PC. And when we say powerful, we mean really powerful. The base spec requirements are actually similar to the VIVE Pro, but if you want to run that super high-res display and have it at 120 Hz, then you should be looking at an RTX 3080 or an RX 6800 XT or above. And even then, there are some games where you are going to struggle. The VIVE Pro 2 is designed to be the standard to look up to for the next few years, so it will be likely that the next generation of graphics cards before we see it comfortably running in everything. The good news is that you can actually change the resolution of the headset using the VIVE software, and there's an automatic mode that adjusts dynamically, and then also a manual mode which lets you set different resolutions and refresh rates. There was some confusion at first from reviews as to why there was two settings for the headset, but in hindsight it does make a lot of sense. The setting in the VIVE software sets the base resolution of the headset, a bit like setting it on your monitor. Then the Steam VR software has a slider for the render resolution of the game. You can set this relative to the headset resolution to directly affect your frame rates and visual performance versus your hardware. This allows you to easily switch the resolution of the headset in the VIVE software without having to go into individual game settings in Steam VR to change them. It's worth noting that if you have the wireless adapter or you're looking to get it, that with the VIVE Pro 2 you'll be limited to the standard 90 Hz and a max resolution of 1632 by 1632, so you won't be able to take full advantage of the new displays. Right now, the only way to get the full experience is via the cable. Lastly, before we get to trying out the Pro 2, let's take a quick look at the options for buying it. These all depend on what you might already have. First up is the new full kit. This is what you buy if you don't have any existing Steam VR base stations or controllers. You get the headset itself along with 2 version 2 base stations and 2 2nd gen Vive wand controllers, basically everything you need aside a PC to run it all. And this is currently priced at around £1,300. The next option for you if you already own a previous HTC or Valve Index headset. And if you've already got the base stations, either version 1 or version 2 is fine, and a set of controllers, either HTC Vive or Valve Index, then you can just buy the Vive Pro 2 headset on its own, and this is priced currently at £719. This is a great option for owners of the original Vive headset who didn't upgrade to the Pro or the Cosmos headsets in the last few years, as you'd benefit from a 2-generation jump in visual quality. So on paper, we should have the same comfort levels, higher quality visuals with a wider field of view and smoother motion, with the only sacrifice being slightly lower black performance. Here's what I found when I tested it out for myself. In Google Earth VR, the field of view is definitely a little wider, but not quite as tall. We tried to record through the lenses to capture this, but it's not easy to get a good shot. So we've approximated this on screen for you here. From a resolution perspective, the original Vive Pro offered a fantastic resolution anyway, and it seems that aside from a little extra clarity in the distance, there isn't much in it between the 2 headsets. I didn't notice a difference going from 90 to 120 Hz here either, although due to the slow nature of the test, I wasn't expecting to, as I'm not that sensitive to it. This could vary for you though. I then tried both with Apollo VR HD, and jumping into an ultra detailed cockpit really showed the difference the new resolution makes. The wider field of view also allowed me to see more of the cockpit from a seated position, which actually felt more natural. There's significantly less shimmering on the tiny detailed surfaces, a sign that the pixels are able to resolve the smaller details better, and there is an extra level of sharpness on the white writing on the panels. In the original Vive Pro, there's a slight blurring around the edges of the text at the standard distance, with the smallest text barely being readable. I found myself leaning in a little more often to see something clearly, whereas on the Pro 2, it seems everything's clear, almost like I was sat in the real thing. If you're a flight sim player, then this is where you'd get the biggest difference with the Pro 2, assuming of course that you have the hardware to power it. Meanwhile, my colleague Andrew tested out the Pro 2 in HalfLife Alyx, as it's widely regarded as the best VR game there is. He said you can definitely notice an extra layer of clarity, especially with more distant objects where there's noticeably less shimmering. The wider field of view is a nice addition and definitely worth having. There is a tiny sacrifice in height, but overall in a game like this, the Pro 2 offers a better experience. It's likely that in faster paced games you'll get more benefit. He did notice a slight difference in the black levels on this game, only in heavily shadowed areas with bright lights like in this basement. Basically, if you have a very powerful PC and you want the very best experience that can be had in 2021 and likely for a few years to come, then the Vive Pro 2 offers this and then some. The price of entry is high if you need the full kit, but significantly less so if you're upgrading and can just buy the headset on its own, which is what HTC expected to be the most popular option. But regardless of the price, it is the best of the best, and of course in the tech world you will have to pay more to get the best. If you've already splashed out on a PC that can power it, then you're likely a pro user anyway and won't mind spending the extra to get the best experience. The Vive Pro 2 is available now at scan.co.uk in either headsets or full kit options. And you can also check out our full VR buyer's guide to find out which is the best headset for you. We've linked to this video below.